Hi there, welcome to my first art diary. My name is Charles and I have a story for you. My art story started in 2018. At that time, I was convinced that I had no traditional drawing skills and I had no reason to believe that would change at any point in time. So I discovered 3D modeling while looking for a way to do animations without having to make use of traditional drawings or painting. Blender was a natural starting point because it's free, open source, and quite powerful. And also, I wanted to avoid jumping through the ethical hoops of cracking software. So, yeah. I love Blender, both the organization and the software, because Blender is an incredible piece of software and the fact that it's free is absolutely amazing. From the time I was introduced to it, I never felt the need to use anything else for 3D modeling. Now I started with some YouTube tutorials before moving to a paid course on Udemy. And over the course of 5 to 6 months, I worked on several projects with very encouraging results. I mean, considering this was stuff I never imagined I could do just a few months prior, it was quite an achievement in my books. Now, like most things, art has a ceiling. This is an effective limit on how much work you can produce within a certain period of time. And as great as 3D modeling was, I could see the ceiling approaching rather quickly. I was willing to stick to it as long as it was all I had. But then, like most people, I was about to encounter destiny on the path I chose to avoid it. One of the tutors in the 3D modeling course mentioned that it was important to first sketch out your ideas before attempting to model them. But I had very little faith in my ability to produce a half-decent drawing, so I initially ignored this. But then a few weeks later, I was out and about and I bought this sketchbook on a whim. I was committed to 3D modeling, and if this was something I needed to do, I'd give it my best shot. So, sketchbook in hand, I headed over to YouTube, searched Drawing 101, and clicked on the first result that came up. In just a matter of minutes, I realized that all my life, my idea of how to develop a sketch made the process so much harder than it actually needed to be. So how does an artist draw a circle? Using a single confident line that by some miracle of talent turns out close to perfect? That's what I'd previously thought. Now I was learning this wasn't necessarily the case, because a circle and many other shapes can in fact be drawn using a series of shorter lines. Same thing a computer does, same thing we learned in engineering, it's just more organic. That was the first thing I learned in that video, and that simple fact opened my mind to many possibilities. When I say I started drawing from scratch in 2018, this is what I mean by scratch. If you look at this page, this is the first page of that sketchbook I showed you earlier. And this is what I started with. I started with a sphere. A circle that developed into a sphere. Then I went to a cube. And then I probably watched another video by SchaefferArt, and this was now on how many of us don't draw or we don't sketch what we see. We sketch what we think we see. And that is why we end up with things that look weird and we don't understand why, because we didn't draw what was there, we drew what we thought was there. And after I saw that video, I tried drawing this light fixture that was in my room, and I was surprised. It turned out quite well. but I think it probably took me a while to do it. I can't really read the numbers anymore, so I don't know in which order I did these other drawings, but I tried drawing a bus. I tried drawing the tripod thing from War of the Worlds. I was drawing this from memory or imagination. And these 3 sketches featuring the faces, I was following another tutorial on YouTube on how anybody can draw, and this was just an example of how anybody could draw caricatures or whatever. Tried to draw some sort of pier, the sofa that was in my room at the time. Oh, the one that is still in my room. Then this was the last drawing I did on that night, the very first night of learning how to draw or sketch. And this was a drawing from memory of the first place I stayed in when I moved when I first moved out of my parents' house. I used to stay in this particular house. This was the door to my house. Now I don't remember if I drew these other drawings the following day or the day after that, but after this it was just more drawing and more drawings, trying to understand more methods, other methods that people used to drawing using shapes. This was a dog. There's a bird somewhere here. It's not very visible. This was a landscape. I don't know when I drew that, but I liked it because this was my first time. The first time I remember showing the reflection of I think in my previous landscape drawings it would never have occurred to me that there's the reflection in the water is important. This was not from, I think this was a paid course where I drew this girl holding the sword. The tutor took us back to this sphere, the whole light thing. It's a whole thing. Once you get into it, understanding shadows. Yes, so this is just applied here somehow. Same thing here. Different shapes and whatnot. More landscape using shapes. And this was the first page that I looked at and I was like, damn, I could actually be good at this at some point, because I was impressed by this result. If I was to do this type of drawing today, I'd still be like, considering my, it's only just under 4 years since I started this would still be okay. This was now trying to communicate distance using different methods. This was when I was learning that you're supposed to draw things at a distance using fainter strokes than those that are in the foreground. This was when I learned about perspective, when I finally understood why some of my drawings turned out so funny, trying to draw buildings and just like, this is nothing like that building. How more perspective, but now with shadows. And this was an annoying drawing. It was so boring because it was 2 bananas on a towel. So trying to draw the folds of the towel, it was a whole thing. But it was part of the course, so I just did it. But whatever. I liked this drawing of this bird because it's probably one of the most detailed drawings had done to that point, and I did it using the grids. And if you've done some art tutorials, you know that you can simplify the process of drawing something detailed by splitting the reference photo using grids and replicate and drawing grid by grid. It's a whole thing. It's quite, you can try it to you'd be surprised what you can do just by that. It almost seems like a shortcut. This was another study I did, and this was something that I wanted to draw based on one of the stories that I wanted to tell. So it's actually it's something that is harder to achieve, but at that time I didn't understand how difficult it was to achieve, because shadows is a whole other thing that I am actually not really good at the moment. It's something that I know is probably the next step along with the shading. So if you were to look at most of the drawings I do today, I still shade conservatively because it's something I've not yet gotten to, but I'm not in a hurry. These were just random studies. How much of what we attribute to talent is just the result of a journey that was sparked by an interest in something, coupled with time taken to learn this new skill? I don't know. What I do know is my drawing skills have significantly improved since the first time I drew in this sketchbook. For today, I wanted to show you the start, because the start matters. Before you improve, you have to start. My name is Charles, and this has been my diary. Until next time, I hope you try something new.